Flex, flex, your hustle. Flex, 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 your hustle. Flex, 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 your hustle. Flex, 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 your hustle. Flex, flex, hey, flex, your hustle.
Welcome back to the Flex Your Hustle podcast, and we are here today with a special guest, Tom Shilongo, well known for his achievements with Launch Namibia. And this is a really special episode because, got more and more guests coming on here, and this special one because this is specifically for the entrepreneurs. And yeah, how are you doing, Tom?
Hey guys, I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me. Flex Your Hustle, guys. Yeah, I'm great. I'm chilling.
All right. So you're here in the north. I wanted to find out what specifically are you here for?
So basically, we're having a pitch night on Tuesday, which is at 9 from 9:30. So it's in collaboration with UNDP and ABN BEF. We're here to fund people that have innovative ideas and basically that need funding for their ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the people, yes, meaning entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. No, so that's great. But Tom, before we dive into that and your achievements with Launch Namibia, I want to get to know a bit about you.
Yeah.
So how did you get into entrepreneurship itself? Did you just wake up one day and say, I want to be an entrepreneur, or is there like a whole?
Yeah. There's definitely a transition that happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's events, I think, that lead up to, you making that decision that, okay, entrepreneurship is my go-to. So, I was doing an internship with the United Nations Information Center, Windhoek. And
how old were you then?
I was 25.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, 25. So, when I was doing that internship, that's where the concept first came to me, because I was having a discussion with some people and they were like, there aren't enough platforms out there, that are directed towards entrepreneurs. So, that's where the seed was planted, and a series of events, I think, led to now the whole plant growing out,
Okay.
And
So, is for that internship you were working under what specific department?
I was working information and communication mobilization.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason as to why I got that internship is because prior to that I was part of the UNAM student leadership at main campus. I was SRC information and publicity, and basically that's now where I started to hone my Photoshop skills, because I needed to put out a lot of posters. I didn't entirely have the skill or the capabilities to do it.
And how did you pick up on those skills? Because it seems like you mentioned Photoshop and all the other softwares that you had to pick up. How did you get into learning to use those things?
Yeah, YouTube, guys. YouTube is your friend. Basically went on YouTube. I got the crack of Photoshop. I couldn't, afford to buy the whole Adobe package. So I got the crack, and then I just started watching YouTube videos and learning how to do posters and logos and stuff like that. And yeah.
Oh, that's actually great, because when it comes to a lot of these skills that people pick up on, they really underestimate the effect of using Google.
Yeah.
People think that you need to have a whole classes, have people come and teach you, which it is possible, but you can learn from the comfort of your home and build on them. So how did your role in UNAM play a role now in your starting of your entrepreneurship life?
I would say, as SRC information and publicity, you definitely have to have skill sets, if there is something that needs to be communicated across, you definitely need to do it. And at the time, the issue that I was facing is that, I didn't know how to, design a flyer or design a poster, make it look attractive so that, the students can come. So I basically just decided, you know what, let me learn some of these skills. And, further down the line, I realized that you can actually make money from this because people come to you and, they're like, I need a wedding invitation, or I need a poster, or there's this gig that I need you to design something for. And I mean, I started making money from that while I was in varsity already, and I never looked back.
That's awesome. I think also the thing of being able to have a hustle whilst in university is really cool, because as much as you can go to university just for your education, you can actually, most of the ideas and startups that I've heard from people started whilst they were in university. And looking at that, you're like, okay, wow, you're at school, but then you're able to start something that is making money for you and is possibly changing the world and making people's lives better. So in pertaining to that, what do you think an average university student should think of when they want to start a hustle in university? What obstacles did you face whilst doing that during your varsity years?
I think, firstly, I would say that putting yourself in unfamiliar, situations is, I think, the number one. I think it really just horns what you can become, because it's within those situations that you realize that, okay, cool, I conquered this way, or I conquered this that way, and then you can take that and you can use it to your advantage, and start developing your skill and everything. In varsity, I should also point out, I think it was during that SRC year that I actually got to realize a lot, because in that specific portfolio, I was also responsible for creating like a newsletter, like a student newspaper. So it was a thing of working with a team, which were basically, the media students doing journalism.
Okay.
Because they would then go out and, get the stories, and then we would compile it and, create this newsletter. So, I actually printed out a student newsletter. And that's where I realized, that, the power of media, because I had people buy spaces in there. So from that, you could make out how much potentially you could make, and how much your cost of production is and all of that stuff. You factor all of those things into, you take them into account. And then, definitely that SRC, I learned a lot.
It really took you out of your comfort zone.
It took me out of my comfort zone, man. Every day I was stressing. I was just like, oh my God, these people expect too much from me. But I think it's within that I realized that, there's potential here.
Because in mentioning that you have to get out of your comfort zone, I think entrepreneurship as a whole makes you get out of your comfort zone, especially when you're starting out alone. Because you look at it as a business standpoint. You could have a restaurant, for example. You could be the one who's setting up the menu. You could be the one who's designing and marketing, playing all these roles until you're in a position to actually start outsourcing these things to other people. And it takes you out of your comfort zone, because not the average person who is going to be, for example, for a restaurant, someone might open a restaurant because they are the best at cooking. Next thing you see, yes, you're cooking, but you're the one who's designing the posters. Exactly. You're the one who's also doing the marketing on social media. So in leaving your comfort zone as a chef, you become someone else in that essence, and you discover your passions. So I definitely understand why being an SRC took you out of that box. So now SRC, you're in your internship, and you realize that you want to get into entrepreneurship. How did you go from there?
Okay, so, while I was in my internship, I was definitely applying for other jobs in the meantime. But I did mention earlier that, that seed was planted, the whole creating something for entrepreneurs and so forth. So, while I was applying for jobs here and there, I wasn't really finding the jobs that I wanted, and at the time, I think what was rife is was internships, a lot of internships that's being put out there, and I realized that I was actually making more money with my side hustle, which was now graphics design and, all of that. So after I completed my internship, the contract came to an end. I was offered another one, but I declined.
Okay.
And that was because of now the creating this. I had this whole idea of just, creating like an entrepreneurial platform. I didn't know what it was, when I started. I was just, doing things, and, I knew a lot, like I knew some entrepreneurs. So I would call them and be like, yo, I have this idea. I don't know what it is, but, I think I want to start with like interviews. Just send you a few questions, you answer them. We do a photo session with you. At that time, I had a photography business, that I started with my brothers. It was like a family business.
Okay.
So, at least, that was free, know, and the nice thing is about this whole concept is that it basically relied on free platforms, which was now social media. I had a Facebook. I remember when I started, I had a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account. That's it. So, it doesn't cost me anything to send someone questions. They send it back and, basically a photo shoot.
Because you already had the photography business as well.
And then you just put it out there. Yeah.
So you get, after the internship, you get a new contract, but then you see that you just want to focus on your side hustle. Did you face any resistance because of that? Because the safest thing in that situation, for a lot of people, when they get out of a contract or stop working, often they feel like, oh, I need that job so that it's a safe net for them for their hustle. But why is it you said, you know what, I don't want this, let me focus on my hustle? Yeah,
I think with entrepreneurs is that, entrepreneurs don't usually follow where the crowd goes, They take a different path. And I think that's definitely what I did. I took a different path because, like, growing up within my family, I'm basically in a family where education is everything. And after education, getting a job is everything, Because, that's how you set yourself up for success. That's definitely what an educated parent that has been working an 8 to 5 would tell you.
Exactly.
So, obviously I did face some resentment, when like, for example, when I told my mom, like, I'm not going to apply for jobs anymore. Like, that's it.
Okay.
I'm going to focus on my business and I'm going to grow it. She was just like, Tom, it's not easy. It's not as easy as you're making it out to seem, There's a lot of things that you're going to sacrifice on. There's, the comfort. For example, you won't be able to just get up and decide, okay, cool, I'm buying a car. Because now you have to take into account that you need machinery for your business. So those are some of the sacrifices that you have to make.
Basically, you become married to your business.
Exactly.
And I get why, as parents, they often worry about that because, entrepreneurship forces you to get into a space where your primary focus is your business. You live your business. Yeah. And now that you mention it and say you can't just wake up and say I'm buying a car, as an entrepreneur, you'd be thinking to yourself, okay, do I really need that right now?
Exactly.
And then you would want to drive all that resources into your business. So that would definitely make sense.
Yeah, you'd be asking yourself, like, if I can buy, like, for example, I have a machine that prints like pull-up banners and stuff like that. I can buy that, and I can make money off of that. Now, with a car, it's more of a liability. It depreciates also.
Yeah.
So you have to make some sacrifices. You have to sacrifice some comfort.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. You're having your magazine after your internship. Was it an easy start after refusing the contract? What did you go through during that period?
Hey guys, with the magazine, I remember I tried to source funding for the magazine, but I got rejected a lot of times, So I decided that from now my side hustle, I managed to save up some money, and I literally sacrificed what I had to pay for the cost to print the magazine. So what I had done was I compiled all of the stories of the people that we featured on our social media pages. And remember, I had ready the pictures of these different entrepreneurs because we've been posting on our socials.
Yeah.
So I got all of that, I compiled it and put it into that magazine, And I tried to sell some ads, but everyone, it's still a concept, so people won't really, jump on ship, I did have a few SMEs that were like, you know what, Tom, I see what you guys are doing. I'm going to buy a page or whatever. So, which also, took the relief off of the printing. But yeah, after that, I printed with the money, with my
own money.
I printed that magazine, the few. I went to ShopRite. I told ShopRite, okay, cool, this is what I have. ShopRite loved the quality. So, that was proper. They said that they were going to stock them. After that, I met up with, I remember after that, I had a meeting with a lady from GIZ, Anna Vambe, that's her name. And I was late for that meeting, because I don't know, on that day, the taxi guy decided to take me on a sightseeing.
Shooting films and stuff, yeah.
Taxi drivers are funny in Windhoek, man. And then I got there and I was late. And Anna was so annoyed, because, she's from, I think she's from the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. But people from that side are very, punctual, and punctuality is key. So, when I got there, she was angry, Just when I sat down, she schooled me on time. And then I gave her my product. She looks at it and tells me, Tom, for the quality of work that you're putting out there, I just don't understand why you're coming late, And
so you definitely had a whole first impression on your product.
She loved it. She was like, this is good quality work, but why are you coming late? And she was, the whole time, she's just emphasizing, but why are you coming late for this quality of work? I'm like, yo. And then that's where she immediately, at that meeting, she was like, Tom, don't worry about the next copy. We're going to cover it. JZ will cover it. So I was like,
that was great.
Yeah, that was great. It took a lot of pressure off,
Yeah. So now in that situation, you mentioned a really key point, and the part for pitching as well. First impressions really do matter to a great extent. Yeah. Yeah. So now looking at that, and I'm sure if you could go back, you would have taken a different cab or found a different way to that meeting. Yeah. But I'm really glad that she still gave you that opportunity. Yeah. So now they released the fund for the second magazine.
Yeah. They funded the second magazine and the third magazine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really great.
They are one of our biggest sponsors when it comes to the magazine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you have the magazine going on. Is Launch Namibia just the magazine itself, or is there more to it?
There's definitely more to Launch Namibia. So when we speak of Launch itself, there are two entities. There's Launch Media. Launch Media basically deals with now the graphics design and then we have Launch Namibia. Launch Namibia deals with entrepreneurs, telling stories of entrepreneurs to help motivate other Namibians that are sitting at home. Namibia suffers from a high unemployment rate.
Yeah.
So the key here is to basically foster an entrepreneurial culture within our youth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the two different entities. With Launch Namibia, we definitely have things in place to try and make it bigger. The overall objective at the end of the day is for the company to turn into I don't want to call it like an SME bank, but yeah, that's the goal.
Okay.
Where we basically what we actually want to do is we would actually like to start giving funding to people that like want to buy equipment to start their own ventures.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's actually great. And now when I think of that, and you mentioned the high unemployment rate in Namibia,
Yeah.
looking at that and how your company is tackling that,
Yeah.
what do you feel are the mindset shifts that are needed for people to go from being unemployed to being entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
Because it's definitely not something that you're just told, be an entrepreneur and I'll do it.
Yeah.
But what mindset do you think that requires?
I think the transition is made when there are a lot of hardships within society. You know, for example, in Namibia, you have most high unemployment. So because people don't want to be sitting at home not doing anything,
Exactly.
you know, there is a reason why people actually dive into entrepreneurship. For some people, it's a thing of, you know, I have this concept, I think it's really going to work, and you know, it's innovative, it's unique, and all of that. But for other people, it's a thing of, you know, I just want to have bread on my table, you know, at the end of the night. So definitely hardships, and you know, this if you realized ever since COVID hit, you know, there has been like high job losses and so forth.
Yeah.
And you know, getting a job has even become more difficult, you know. But one thing that definitely has come to life is the entrepreneurial ecosystem. A lot of people are diving into business. Young people selling anything from do-rags to like
Arabic perfumes, all
Arabic
kinds of stuff.
Anything people
Yeah.
are selling. So, you know, that's actually nice to see. It's good to see that people are, you know, starting to dive into like, you know what, I can do this by myself and what. And the nice thing about this is that the corporates also are diving into it. You know, you have GIZ, it's, you know, Startup NAM, UNDP has their accelerators. You see, you find Sunnam that has like some pitching stuff, One Economy Foundation, like it's a lot. And one thing that I can say right now is that being a startup right now is actually lucrative because there are so many opportunities. If and you can make so much money.
So do you mind explaining first to the audience what really is a startup? Because when I listen to that, I think to myself, okay, I'm running a business. Is this what is considered a startup, or am I an entrepreneur, or I really don't understand it? So what would you mean when you say a startup?
So, defining a startup is one. It's a lot. People have a lot of definitions for you know what a startup is, you know. But definitely, when you look at a startup, is that a business that needs to be like, you know, unique and all of that stuff. Some people would say that the business needs to have some level of tech, innovative technology behind it. Other people look at a startup in the sense of the age bracket of the startup.
Okay.
You know, being from 0 to 3 or 0 to 5 years. I mean, it's different characteristics. Yeah.
So you did mention to say that startups are really lucrative right now.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the companies that are supporting those.
Yeah.
How can an entrepreneur with a startup benefit from such provisions?
Yeah, I think in terms of definitely in terms of funding, in terms of accelerator, how you could you know, accelerate your innovative idea to get it to, you know, the point where it's self-sustainable.
Okay.
There are so many opportunities right now, and you know, it's just a thing of applying. I think the culture that a lot of Namibians don't have, or young Namibians, is just applying for something because they don't want to type long essays or all of that stuff. And you know, I'm also guilty. You know, when I see some of those applications, I'm like, you know, paragraph on paragraph. But it's definitely worth it in the end. Yeah, because I mean, it just opens you up for opportunities.
Yeah. And I guess really opportunities are out there. It's just that you have to really position yourself.
Yeah.
And in all essence, with positioning yourself, if you want to get startup opportunities, you first need to have a startup in the first place. If you want to be an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, you need to have a business. So by actually just starting something, you would be way steps ahead of the average person who does not have anything at all.
Exactly.
And looking at that, I feel as like Namibian youth, there has to come a point in time where we are all starting things of our own.
Yeah.
Because right now you look at the COVID situation and with the looting that happened in SA, that really affected the import and exporting of things from SA.
Yeah.
And then you come to it and you ask yourself to say, until when are the Namibian population going to rely on getting stuff from outside the country?
Yeah.
So
definitely. I mean, it's definitely a thing of, you just starting. Once you start, you're already like a step ahead of everyone else, and it's not going to be easy, it's going to be difficult, but you like I said, or like you said, you're ahead of your peers, I don't know if do you know Theo Baloy?
No, I don't.
So he owns Batu, and I like to speak about him because like he started Batu is like a shoe brand in SA.
Okay.
I think he's almost at his 30th store in South Africa now.
Wow.
He's just opening different Batu franchises all over South Africa.
Okay.
And he's doing amazing. And the thing is about him, like I think it's 5 years ago he sold his first Batu like shoe from the trunk of his car. And to see where he is right now is just amazing. So it's just a thing of starting, start something. Obviously you're going to have failures, sometimes you're going to start something that's not going to take off, but then as an entrepreneur, you have to look for ways, you have to look for solutions, you have to try different things, but eventually one will hit.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, to say sometimes things don't just start off the way we expected to. I think as an entrepreneur, an important quality to have is the mindset to say, I'm going to make it happen irregardless. Because often what happens is that we face obstacles and then we become demotivated and then completely abandon the idea. When the idea is actually great, it's just that we're not pushing hard enough.
Yeah.
So it becomes a thing where like, per se, people say doors open for you. Sometimes the door is closed and you really need to put your foot in the door by yourself.
Yeah.
And getting that mindset is something that, like you said, comes from a place of experiencing hardships.
Yes.
What's one experience that you have had thus far in your entrepreneurship life that has really been eye-opening for you?
I think for me, I would say, when I started the media side of Launch, I was basically doing things like a middleman. So I would do the designing, but the printing I wouldn't do because unfortunately I didn't have the equipment to do the printing. So, I realized that, making money as a middleman was, actually being like lucrative. Because I was actually making some money. But the issue was, with where you're putting that money. And as, a business owner, you kind of have to, analyze that, okay, if I put my money into this, would I be able to make it back?
Okay.
So I basically because I was supposed to hire a few people.
Okay.
But I put that on hold to basically buy machinery.
Invest in equipment.
Yeah, invest in equipment basically. And that just made me realize that you actually need to analyze what is important at what time. And a lot of people think that having a business is everything will be orthodox, where everything would be one way. But sometimes you have to do unorthodox things to get to where you want to be. Yeah. And I'm not talking about illegal. Don't get me wrong. Say different.
Different.
You have to be different. Yeah.
So now looking at that, and you mentioned something really key, which is saying knowing what to do at specific times in your business. You often look at people when they get capital investments in their business. Often that money is spent in getting things that do not further the business themselves. And then the business suffers and dies.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who is trying to gauge whether a certain period in their business is right for whatever item they are trying to achieve? For example, like expansion.
Yeah. I think with that, I would say that you first have to analyze whether what it is you want to get is worth it at the time. You have to do, cost calculations and cross calculations, and just see whether like what is important at the time, because some things that we think are important aren't actually important. For the business, you would have to like put off, let's say, getting a car, so that you could maybe get 2 or 1 more person within the business, so that your business can be more efficient, so that, because efficiency then leads to more clients
and definitely more revenue.
Yes, and you won't definitely be like disappointed, because like one thing a lot of people complain about when it comes to businesses within Namibia is that what, guys, Namibian businesses aren't as efficient, or the communication skills aren't right, and what. So you kind of have to invest into those things so that you can retain your clients. Yeah, you just need to see what is important and at what time.
And as far as appealing to clients, the question that I would have for you is to say, how do you keep a client coming back to your business?
Yeah, I think with me is I give them good prices. I think the price that I give them is definitely one that allows me to retain them, because what I've realized is within our ecosystem, which is now the media and the printing, most of those prices are they are like
correct prices.
Yeah. So when clients see what I'm pricing, and with the prices that I give, like I still make sure that I'm making a profit. It's just that it's not 100% profit or 200% profit like that everyone else wants to make. Whether you're making like an 80% profit, it's still something, and that's even better because you retain all of those clients.
Because I see what often happens in that space is that, especially when it comes to graphic designers and stuff, is that they think that, okay, today I've got a client, Tom, right? We do the service and then he goes. They do not focus more on retaining the client, because in that essence of retaining the client, I can get more and more work from you, and it leads to more and more business. Yeah,
retaining your clients is very, very important, because if you're going to work with this thing of, let me just deliver this thing and then they're off, you might get to a point where you're not getting any more people requesting for stuff because you haven't like given them an experience. You
basically gave them a once-off experience.
Yes, but you haven't given them something where they feel like, let me keep going back to that guy, because that guy he understands my timing. He even just cracking a joke with your clients. People like stuff like that. It's about building a relationship. And that's the most important thing in a business, building a relationship, and that's why I love networking. Networking is important, knowing the right people, building a relationship with them, because they are basically going to make your business successful. They're going to keep coming back. If you build a relationship with someone, let's say in UNDP, when they put out a contract there, they will also email you. They won't leave you out. They'll email you and say, there's this job. Please send us a quotation. And and that's what it is about. And that's what makes your business successful.
Because I look at it in Africa, and we say that connections is currency.
Yeah.
If you do not have connections in Africa, you are lost, fam. Yeah. And then now you mentioned to say networking is important. And for you, as someone who knows a lot about startups and you're having a pitch night, how can someone who has an idea use networking to their advantage?
You target the different entities that you feel will help grow your idea. You target those people, you speak to them, you let them know that, okay, cool, this is the business idea or the concept that I have. I see that it aligns with your brand in this and that way. How can we make it happen? So that we can both grow. Usually in business, there isn't really I, it's a thing about we. How can we grow from here?
And that breeds collaboration.
Yes, collaboration.
Because you look at it and you're like, we can bring two different elements to what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And when it comes to collaborating, I see that it's a spirit that we need to breed among us, especially among the Namibian population, because often there's the thing of, no, I want to work alone and so forth.
Exactly.
But how does collaboration push forward any agenda?
Our motto for this year is collaborate, grow, and inspire. And that is like the best way, like that you can become more successful is when you collaborate. I could basically wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I can do this by myself and what, but you won't reach that level of impact that you can have when you're when it's a team. Yeah. So, we as Launch Namibia, when we go out there and when we try to foster this entrepreneurial ecosystem, we don't leave out, people like GIZ Startup Namibia or UNDP's Accelerator Lab, or let's say Dololo, because these are all entities that are trying to foster the same thing that we're doing. And when we go together like that, we are more impactful. They have a reach of entrepreneurs that we don't. We have a reach of entrepreneurs that they don't. Startup Namibia also, Accelerator Lab as well. So when we bring all of these people together, then it's the more numbers. It's the more number of startups or entrepreneurs that you have.
I think the issue also comes in when people fail to understand that the cake is really big enough for all of us to get a slice from.
Definitely.
The issue is now one person is trying to eat the whole cake and they end up sick. And it messes up business, know. But now when it comes to a spirit of collaborating and everyone gets a piece of it all, we end up making a much greater impact out there. And I think now as Namibian population, we are really in a space where we are trying to make an impact outside of Namibia. Yes, the population is small, but we can do a lot if we just work together.
Exactly, and shout out to you guys, Flex Your Hustle, for inviting us here, because you guys also realize that, we have the same goal that we're achieving, or trying to achieve. And I think that's why we're here today. So, I just have to say thank you, and I appreciate it.
No, definitely welcome. Because, even with the podcast, and it's always been our goal to build entrepreneurs. Personally, for me, when I was started my first business, and this is like some side information for you.
I just like how it diverted from asking me questions to now. That's what it is about.
So basically, when I started my business, I started my first business at 18. It was a clothing brand. It's called Shorts Devaro.
Okay.
And I didn't have people per se that I could rely on as my mentors. As much as you can watch stuff on YouTube, mentorship is definitely important because I need someone to basically tell me where I'm going wrong, what I'm doing right, and the mindset is required. And the reason I kept mentioning mindset is because when I initially started, my first thought was, I just need to make money from this. And that's the average entrepreneur's mindset. I just need to make money from this. But later on, did I realize when I had Shorts Devaro, then I started my marketing agency much later in 2020. I realized that as much as you may be chasing money, money is just the byproduct of the actual thing that you're offering.
Exactly.
So now from a graphic designer's perspective, I think I've mentioned this before in the second episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
It took me a good 11 months
Yeah.
to get my first client.
Yeah.
And the reason why it took me 11 months, which I feel is very much shorter than a lot of people that do the same thing as me, which is running a marketing agency, is that I built a portfolio based on free work.
Exactly.
Now, with that free work, I was collaborating with all kinds of people, and they got to know me in that space.
Yeah.
And that alone itself put me in a position that allowed me to receive opportunities from bigger companies. Because when they look at your business, they want to see the work you have done.
Definitely.
But now that if you are just chasing money, you only do work when there's money. Money becomes the controller of the amount of work that you put out.
Exactly. You know, and that's also what I went through. You know, when I started Launch Namibia, I went a good year and a half where I was constantly working, constantly reaching out to entrepreneurs to feature them, and constantly doing the photo shoots for free, you know? So that
and always, you know, when you hear family, they ask you like, are you making money from this? And then, you know, you have no answer because you're there like, okay, I'm doing this for free. I'm not making money from it, but the money will come later. And I think as an entrepreneur, we need to understand delayed gratification.
Exactly.
Once you have that quality sitting in your mindset, you know, I will get remunerated for the effort that I'm putting in, not now, but much later.
But later, yeah. And I think definitely I can agree to that because, you know, once we started putting out our content, you know, we had people like UNDP reach out to us, sign a 2-year contract where they were like, okay, cool. This is how much we're going to give you guys so that you guys can do your work. And we're working on a project. I can't really say with who, but definitely it's coming.
Yeah, definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah.
So you guys, you should definitely follow Launch Namibia because you would want to hear more about that project as entrepreneurs. But now, you know, something else that I would want to speak on is the fact that, like we said, people always ask, are you making money from this? Are you making money from this? How does one maintain their business side of life when there's outside noise constantly telling them to say they need to be at a certain position where they are not, and filtering out that judgment? How do you manage to filter it out? Because I get some people will look at your business and be like, okay, this guy must be making millions by now. But you're still in a position where it's still growing, and you know that eventually the millions will come. But the outside viewer doesn't understand to say, not just yet. How do you navigate that?
I think you just have to focus on the dream, focus on where you want your business to be, and work towards that. Eventually everything will start falling into place. And don't listen to people. You know, when people come to you and, you know, throw comments out there like, yo, I mean, you're working, what is to show for it? You know, just focus on you, be genuine about it, and grab every opportunity that comes. I also struggled with that. You know, people would come to me and like, you know, how much money are you making? My brother, you must be a millionaire by now. You know, those type of jokes, man. But at the end of the day, what I can say is I am definitely getting there. You know, and we as Launch Namibia are also definitely like we collaborating with the right people, the right entities. So I mean that dream is realistically like it's not far actually.
It's not far. Yeah. And the reason it's not far is because of your consistency as well. Your
consistency, it's very important, and your mental health is also very important. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're starting a business, the overall objective is for you to make money so that you are sustainable and so forth.
Yes.
But if your business has or solves, you know, some form of social problem or, you know, whatsoever, I mean, even better, because people will feel that social impact faster, and, you know, people would definitely make your business like a household brand. They will be talking about it at home. or they'll be talking about it in their offices.
And that aspect of people making your business a household brand definitely comes into play, because when you realize to say that it's the market that decides whether the product is good or not, not you.
Exactly.
And when we come to a point where we are more empathetic, like I always watch Gary Vee's videos, and he says that we all need to operate from a place of empathy.
Yes.
I need to sit there and listen to your PowerPoints, the points that are hurting you, and come up with solutions for it. Only then can we become much better entrepreneurs, and then you can become a household name like all these other brands. And you look at it, and another important thing that you mentioned is to say the mental health aspect of it. Because, mental health has really become a topic in the past few years.
Yeah.
As much as people have become conscious of it. And in an African space, I feel as Africans, we come from a household where mental health is not really a topic.
Yeah.
Or it's not, because they'll look at you, you say you're depressed, they'll look at you like, are you, those are white people things. They'll throw in such statements.
When you're like, I'm going to see my therapist, they're like, therapist.
And immediately they assume it's because maybe you're like 116 crazy type thing. But in genuine aspect, it's because you need to realign and refocus your life. And only then you can do it with professional help or the assistance of someone else. And when it comes to that, what do you think should people stop viewing mental health as? Like, what aspects do they need to change on their view of that?
I think, they should stop thinking that, when somebody is like trying to take care of their mental health, this person is like suffering from like serious mental illnesses or whatever, it's mental health is important, and especially for let's say as an entrepreneur, you're battling with a lot of things and you're sacrificing a lot of things. So you definitely need to talk to somebody, and that's also where mentorship comes in, and the power of mentorship, or the power of mentors. And I don't know, I think that's also, except for the Olafika mentorship program, and I think the mentorship that SME Compete also gives, there's still a lot of room, and I think a lot of us need to start diving into that area where we allocate mentors to entrepreneurs, because it just helps with their mental health,
And with allocating mentors to entrepreneurs, it puts them in a position where they can drive their business goals faster. Because another thing that you mentioned is that the overall goal of a business is to make money. Right? And when you look at that, it's kind of like driving a car. A business itself is the structure itself, the engine. But then with no fuel, it will not go anywhere.
You won't.
So you need to be in a position where you understand, even as much as you may want to change people's lives, you need to change people's life in a way that, one, it generates a revenue and creates employment also, solving other external issues from the main goal that everyone is or you may be chasing. Because we may have a vision. And I always look at it in this way to say that, like Kanye West, for example, his whole fashion brand is definitely from his own vision. And he's had to fight off the views of so many people. But look at it now, it's generating so much revenue, and he's pushing it far and wide, pushing his own vision.
He's a billionaire, man. He's a billionaire. Why people were there calling him crazy, because of the way he dresses or whatever. I mean, Kanye West knows what he's doing.
So as an entrepreneur, you need to have that I know what I'm doing mentality, but also you need to work from a place of humility. Because I think also another aspect is that as an entrepreneur, you get to points where people give you advice and then you shut them out because you've been told, no, don't listen to anyone. But there are people worth listening to.
Definitely. And those are definitely like, your teammates, or even your teammates, or even just, your clients and stuff like that. I have times where Nita is literally, she's schooling me, and I'm just like,
and you have to really swallow your ego. You have to really swallow it, and it's a big pill, my guy, to swallow, but it's worth it in the end, because you look at it from the position that you are. If you are like a blade and you allow another blade to sharpen you, you both become sharp.
Yeah.
The thing is also a common stigma within our Namibian community is that when I, as a photographer, come and give you advice. Yes, you are taking pictures for your business, but I, as a photographer, come and give you advice. You're like, okay, this guy, okay, he thinks he's the best. Exactly. But not really. I do know I'm the best. That's why I'm giving you the advice. But understand that also it's because I want you to be the best.
Exactly.
And it's not that I'm trying to knock you. So people always think from a perspective of, he's trying to show that he knows, but not realizing that it's more of like two blades. I think if you're a butcher and you're watching this podcast, you're going to enjoy this. But it's like two blades sharpening each other. You both become great at what you are doing. And that goes back and culminates to the fact that we spoke of earlier, that collaborations build everyone around and working alone makes one person suffer.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you definitely have to, listen to, other people, and they will help shape your idea. I think also one thing that we should also dive into is basically the fact that when you're starting your idea, you won't always have all of the answers. Like as you're on this journey, like things just start falling into place. And I think everyone needs to realize that I mean, just start. And also take into account people that are giving you advice. Don't shut them away and what because they're going to help shape your idea.
So it's definitely to also develop patience as well. Because if you start that journey and you expect to be somewhere in 6 months, somewhere unrealistic in 6 months, it's impossible. But I have a double-sided view of that. Elon Musk said something really dope, which is like, if you give yourself and do not quote me on this, I'm just speaking the lesson behind it, you check. But he basically said to say that if you want to make 20 million in a year, right, you will make it because you've given yourself that time frame. You will not make 20 million per se, but you will make 17, 16, 15, right? But then if you tell yourself to say in a year, I want to make 5. You make way less than that. Or you just say, you know what, in 10 years, I want to make 5 million. You may not even achieve it. But so setting time frames for your goals helps, but also having that patient attitude to say, you know what I'm working on is going to pan out the way I expect it to. It's just that I need to keep on and being consistent. It's like any chef would say, all the recipes for a great meal are required to make the meal an absolutely tasty meal. So no, definitely, I think I've really dived into a lot in this podcast, and I've enjoyed your input, Tom. I don't know if you have anything else to say to the Namibian public that you would want them to know, maybe about Launch Namibia, anything coming up?
I think you guys should definitely be on the lookout. We have great announcements that are coming, great partnerships and collaborations that are coming that are going to benefit you guys.
All right. So that's awesome. And this is the end of episode 6 of the Flex Your Hustle podcast. And definitely like, subscribe, and follow. And listen, we are building entrepreneurs. I get it. You're seated at home. You might not have a job. You're watching Netflix all day. I do the same thing sometimes. But understand, you need a hustle, fam. You can't be seated on the couch all day. So let's get started. Like, subscribe, follow Launch Namibia on social media and also Launch Media.
And most importantly, flex your hustle, guys.
Signing out.
Every day you gotta hustle.
Flex.
Each and every day.
Flex your hustle.
Need more of you.